It's called Marxism. 150 years of being taught dogma. All you know is dogma. You don't know how to think. They don't want them to think. They want them to obey, not think. We probably don't want them to obey enough, but that does create a much more creative society. So there are real benefits as well as detriments. I know I grew up under communism, studied it as communist philosophy. Well, it was basically my major in college. And there was always the feeling that they had a great advantage over us. And I mean, very patriotic Americans would say this, that they had a great advantage over us because they had direction from a central authority and from above. I always believed they had a great disadvantage for that reason, because there's no way they're going to create what we create. And when you look at our militaries, even today, with the massive buildup of the Chinese Navy, our military is considerably more creative than theirs, except for the fact that they, particularly the Chinese, steal a lot of ours. If we could cut down the stealing as we move into the AI super generation or the supercomputer generation or the quantum computing, if we can cut down the stealing, get the damn spies out, they'll be left way behind. Now, it can be a tough job because Biden did something to us historically in the whole area of spying. Never happened to us before. Hey, we've been spied on starting with the British, and we spied on them. But we never had a period of time where for 4 years your enemy could bring anybody they wanted in here. I mean, China could virtually send anybody they wanted into the United States, and more than likely, he'd give them a ticket to come in. He had a special arrangement with China. We brought about 400,000 people in from China illegally with the help of the United States. Have you ever heard of a government that helps its enemy bring the spies in? You give them a ticket to come. Who said that? Give them a ticket.
That was you.
Oh, okay. Well, we paid for the tickets.
Yeah, right.
The head of the FBI is in a very, very unfortunate and difficult position. And gosh, I know the FBI, the good one and the bad one, backwards and forwards. And when people say, what would I do about it? I say I'd be in the same position they're in. To me, it's completely unnerving after 40 or 50 years of being involved in mostly Russian spying, right? That we don't have any fix at all on who the hell's here. That's with regard to the Chinese, who are by far much more proficient than either the Russians or the Islamics. The Islamics, they're all over the place. I mean, all of a sudden, starting on February of 2021, they can bring anybody in they want. And before they realized they could do it for sure, all they had to do was pay the Mexican cartels. You want to get top guy in, right? You want to get your top spy in. You pay the Sinaloa cartel $100,000. That guy will never get seen by anybody. Think of the border for a moment, all right? Think of how big it is, right? Think of the fact that we have 12, 13 border checkpoints. Think of all the room between those border checkpoints. And think about the fact that if you have a multi-billion-dollar organized crime operation, you're going to have a lot of equipment that has that border analyzed better than we do, or at least better than we used to. And you want to give me $100,000 and I guarantee you I can get somebody in without anybody seeing them? Not even a problem. When they used to estimate this before the communists in our government closed it down, places like MIT, Princeton, Yale used to estimate that for every illegal that we identify, anywhere from 50 to 200% more come in, and we never see them. This is before they had complete control of the border, before they had sophisticated equipment, when they were $100 million organized crime groups, not billion-dollar crime groups. So we are now existing with the having to deal with what law enforcement and intelligence work never wants to deal with, the unknown. And if you're wondering why the president is expediting just throwing people out, it's to clear it away so we can find them more easily. Because even the innocent ones are hiding the guilty ones. So when people say, "Oh, why are you throwing out just somebody that came here? He just came here illegally. He's not raping anybody. He's not killing anybody." I don't know, under ordinary circumstances, maybe you could say, okay, it's one person, two people. But that group is using up our resources that have to be spent on people who want to destroy us, who are hiding, like the needle in the haystack. So you got to clean out the haystack. I used to be in favor of focusing our efforts on the criminals. I still think their efforts should be focused on the criminals. But we got to get rid of some of the others too, because they're hiding the criminals. And you go into a community, you can't tell the difference. And the criminals are really bad, not like they used to be. The old illegal immigrants, except for the Marielitos, where Castro cleaned out his insane asylums and prisons. You think Maduro's the only one who cleaned out his insane asylums and prisons? Well, you're wrong. And you don't know how criminals operate. Right now, we got a homegrown problem. And it's a serious one, and we're afraid to face it. I really don't know how we got like this. I think communism has a lot to do with it. Why are we afraid to say the following? Let's use a simple proposition, because, I think very simply. That's what I learned from Greek philosophy. Very simple with logical steps. So if as I am, I find out at some age in my life, I not only find out, but I absorb the fact that I'm male. That's what I am. You can sort of look at it and see that I'm male. And then all of a sudden, I start thinking, I'm male. I do everything male. But I think I'm a female, but I have nothing female. Isn't this the same form of schizophrenia? And then all of a sudden, that, gosh, I start thinking I'm George Washington, and I'm not. Or I start thinking I'm Mickey Mantle, and I show up at Yankee Stadium to play ball. There are people who do this. I used to know a lot of the people who thought they were George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. They used to come visit me when I was in the U.S. Attorney's Office. And when I was an assistant, I used to get, this was a great educational experience that we got in Manhattan. I'd be assigned once every 3 months to the complaint duty. And during the week, you'd get at least 10 loonies. I'm Dr. Martin Luther King. I mean, yeah, and you don't know how to deal with the guy. You said, well, you're not black. I mean, you're not even black. You want to do a better job of fooling me? I got away with this for a while, and then one guy really went nuts, and my boss, surprised he didn't fire me. I used to tell him to put like either paper, and then when they rejected the paper, I said that you had to use tinfoil. The tinfoil was very, very good. It would stop the CIA from taking, because a lot of these wackos think the CIA is taking their brainwaves. CIA only takes the brainwaves of Republicans that are right-wing. They want to save their resources. So they focus on, me and Trump and people like that. But everybody else, they just are nuts. So I told this guy to put the things in. And then you do this for about 4 days, you move on and somebody else does it. About 2 weeks later, he comes back, he's got a big stick. He wants me so he can hit me because he had it in for 4 or 5 days. It was working, and then it stopped working. The CIA was able to get through And now he wanted to know what he should use. And when my boss found out that I was jerking around with him, he said, "You're not supposed to treat these people like a joke. They're very serious. You got to send them to Bellevue." But they wouldn't go to Bellevue. We did have more power then to incarcerate them, with 2 psychiatrists saying they were nutso. Now you can't even do that, which is why some of them are walking around the city of New York killing people. Thank you, Andrew Cuomo. Thank you, Mr. de Blasio at Hokel Pokel Scopel. And now, the ones they missed, Mr. Mandami will do. He'll put out every nut he can find. Right now, there is I think since it's a group, we'd have to call it a trend. If it was an individual, we'd call it a serial murder going on. And the trend is how long it's been going on, and we didn't know about it. Ted and I'd be the first to tell you we don't know, because the illegals killing people were going on for several years, and our government was lying about it until they were caught with Lachlan Riley. Transgender people are responsible for 3 out of the last 4 mass murders. That's a little too much to be a coincidence. That's a lot. Mass murder is 3. Really, the art of investigating serial killers is kind of picking it up right away. I mean, you're damn good if you can pick it up and you see characteristics of it in the first murder. If you get it in the second, you're pretty damn good. Third, now you should start getting it. So let's go through a couple of them that you'll remember. Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, was in a deep, completely pathological trans relationship with his boyfriend, girlfriend, it friend. Enormously sympathetic to the cause and enormously enraged at those people who aren't treating transgender people.
Who the Democrats are portraying as somehow being anti-trans.
Who?
Well, I just want to make it clear, right? They're making us into an enemy that we're not.
If you're trans, you have a mental illness.
Right.
If you have a mental illness, it's pretty easy to persuade you of all kinds of propaganda.
Right.
So if a person who's trans hates Donald Trump, or hates me, or hates Charlie Kirk, or hates and doesn't realize that we have his health and his better good in mind more than they do.
Right.
Because I don't get any money whether they're trans or not. The doctor gets $400,000 if you can make you trans and chop your genitals off. Or a guy like Tampon Tim can have you come to Minnesota. They make a fortune there, and I don't know how they get the right to say to out-of-state fathers and mothers, you can't object. You got a 13-year-old kid. The kid's missing. The kid could be in Minnesota having hormone therapy, which is extraordinarily damaging, or, of course, the ultimate, which is getting permanently changed so that when you become 20 and you want to go back, you don't. And that's where the disproportionate number of suicides take place. And not just the ones who are operated on, the hormones also. There's a very, very strong body of opinion that the hormones involved have a big effect on that part of the brain that controls rage and anger. Just very similar to why marijuana has more of an effect on that part of the brain. And in some senses, even though we lived under the idea that cocaine and heroin was more dangerous, yeah, it's more addictive. But there doesn't seem to be much question that marijuana is more lethal to the brain and to that area of the brain which controls rage. And you wonder what happens now that people are taking 4 times the strength of marijuana they used to take 20 years ago. And we'll give you some statistics on that, which the left will never give you. And we do have to implore the president not to listen to some of the jerks he has around him who tell him that marijuana isn't dangerous. These guys are either liars or they're living in 20 years ago. The president wants to reduce the category that marijuana is carried, and so the sentences would be much less. It's actually just a time to increase it, because marijuana is anywhere from 4 to 8 times more powerful than it was before. So Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson. Then, of course, we had Robin Westman, and that was the Minnesota school shooter who killed 2 children, injured 21. And this was a trans woman who left things behind, supporting that group that we talked about, that more often the damage is done when they go trans because they regret it. She was regretting the change when they went about, and also had an enormously strong reaction against the school. Audrey Hale, that was in Nashville in 2023. She attacked a Catholic school for not being, I guess, sympathetic enough with the fact that she was a sick kid who needed help. She killed 6 people, or he killed 6 people. Alec McKinney was one of the main shooters in the 2019 Colorado charter school killing. Alec was born a female, but identified as a male. So it goes both ways, right? And Snosha Mosley was a transgender male to female who murdered 3, injured another 3 in a 2018 Maryland shooting. And then there's a group called the Zizian Trans Cult that is linked to, and we'll get you the breakdown of them, multiple murders throughout the United States. The New York Post asks how many make a trend. Well, that's way beyond the trend. And I am convinced that, thank God, the FBI now considers it a special category of murder. Of course, the trans left-wing communists are going crazy that this is unfair to them. This is probably the fairest thing that's been done to them by the United States government in a very long time. What the United States government has done to these people, including our army, is inhumane in encouraging them to take hormones. The minute they feel some doubt about the agenda, getting them into like the whole program so quickly we could pull out the $400,000, including our military, and making it appear as if, gee, if you feel that way, it's perfectly okay, by having these clowns walking around, right? These trans queens, and they look like big, giant, idiotic, asinine clowns. I mean, the military doesn't have time for that. It's hard enough getting them ready for the tough job of defending us by killing people. That's what the military, kind of like, wake up to it. Our military exists as trained killers who kill under rules of engagement for the purpose of preserving our society, because there are a lot more of them that want to come here and kill us. And most of us aren't trained in being able to stop them. If we didn't have a military, you don't think China would come take us over right away? Well, if you don't, please don't do anything serious in life, because you'd be a danger to us. The Supreme Court is getting very, very close to rethinking this whole gender thing. They rendered a decision the other day that it is perfectly constitutional for a state to say that you can't change your gender without the permission of your parents. That the parents have the ultimate right to make that decision. In other words, they rendered an American constitutional decision rather than a decision that would have to cite as its authority Karl Marx's Das Kapital, or Engels' book on sexuality, or Hitler, or Stalin, who all agreed on the principle that the child was the property of the state and that the parents' views were completely irrelevant and probably harmful. Do you remember way back when Black Lives Matter was first found? One of the first things I did is go get their manual. You know the second thing in their manual? This is supposedly an organization that exists to bring about racial whatever. The second thing in it is the American, the biggest cause of disparity in America is the typical American family made up of a father and a mother. A father is a positively destructive force, and women should be encouraged to have their children and, I don't know, kill the father, I guess. There are some animals that do that. I guess they're known as communists. Now you wonder, well, why was that there? And why was that not emphasized by the press? And even like my team, the Yankees, which is why I haven't been at Yankee Stadium since then, gave Black Lives Matter money. Who in their right mind would have given an organization money that thinks you should do away with the nuclear family? I mean, most sensible Black people thought that was outrageous. Many Black people will tell you they, more than anyone else, need fathers. They want to do away with fathers. Oh, mothers too. One of the things that unites all of the communist academics and dictators is get the child as early as possible, make the child a property of the state, and break down all connections to the family. Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, all of them. You'll find it one of their top 5 priorities, along with getting rid of God, for the same reason. So is it accidental that we're having this big battle? Or is it, as it is quite obvious, this is 175 years of Marxism? And they've been infiltrating us very, very carefully and very brilliantly for that period of time. And there are times in which we do a better job of catching them, and times we don't do any job of catching them, and times we have Biden who brings them in without any attempt to do anything, and also takes $31 million from them. So that's what we're facing right now. This entire gender education is completely inspired by the Communist Party. The teachers' union was created by the Communist Party in the 1930s, by the Communist Party. The early members of it were communists. That's why they have distorted American history. And we take down, you think we just take down all the statues by accident? We kind of just came on this idea that we're going to take down Thomas Jefferson's statue, and we're going to take down George Washington's statue, and we're going to take down Christopher Columbus's statue, and we're going to, you think it is like, no. This is what Karl Marx and Engels taught them. This is how you destroy a society and make it communist. You take away its history. How about entire chapters on taking away their heroes? Or how about we make it simple? You get people to hate their country. Now, how many kids, and not so young, how many times do you hear people on television or on radio or on internet or whatever saying things like, it sounds like they hate America? Well, they were taught to do that. That's part of the attempt to destroy our civilization. So I want to show you this, Ted. This is the joy going on in Israel right now because America has a great president. This would not be the case if Donald Trump were not the president. That's a scoreboard. The scoreboard shows an Israeli woman who has pointed out that for 733 days, and then the fractions, we have allowed these animals to hold hostages. And they're now coming back. I hope. This is, there's a picture of their joy. Always wonderful to see joy. I don't know if the pictures below are the living or the dead. More are dead than alive.
Israel believes 20 hostages remain alive. That would leave 28 dead. 72 hours. Hamas has 72 hours. I believe that countdown has begun to return all living hostages. Hamas claims they may need some more time to locate the remains of all the murdered hostages. I want to use the word murdered, right? We hear,
in order to make that time go by quickly, shouldn't we kill them during that period of time? Shouldn't we go into their villages and pick out Hamas and shoot them?
So, of course,
don't think that sounds savage. They were trained from the day they were born to kill you. They were trained to kill Jews, but death to the big Satan comes next. The training is in textbooks. You know who distributed the textbooks? The United Nations. So when you talk about Palestinians and you start to get a little loopy on it and say, oh, we got to be nice to the Palestinians, you're being nice to people who were brainwashed from the time they were born to kill you. And that's who the jackasses we educate are demonstrating for. That's what all those morons in Europe are demonstrating for. People who want to kill them. Look at the Muslims who come into their countries. They don't want to become English. They don't want to become French. But they set up their own country within France, within England, so they can make it a Muslim country who will eventually eliminate. What are you showing, Ted?
I didn't want to do that transition. So this is reports of tens of thousands of Palestinians are returning to their homes as this ceasefire has now taken effect. So we're just playing some B-roll here while you talk.
Okay. So if you want to see that, on the map, I mean, it's pretty easy to see. So show them.
Yep. We'll bring that up.
This way they get a sense. I am a very big believer that if you want to understand what's going on in the world, you damn well better understand its geography. Because if you don't, you don't understand it, sweetheart. And most kids in America don't even know I don't even think they can spell geography. What is it, 30?
Our reading scores are in the 20s.
Geography is a big, long word. I mean, they have a hard time spelling short words.
Yeah.
So you look at that map, you're looking at people walking along that seafront on the Mediterranean Sea. From the river to the sea, that's the sea they want to throw all the Jews in. Except they don't know the name of it. The graduates of Harvard.
So we got that clip.
More, when polled, don't know the name of it than do. I find that impossible to believe. I find it impossible to believe that only 34% of American high school graduates can do basic math. I said basic math. Less than 40% can do English. What are we graduating if we're graduating people who can't do English?
Now's the time. Here's
Martians?
Here's a couple of those educated college students during the pro-Palestinian protests of last year.
What brings you out tonight?
I'm here to support the NYU students protesting for Palestine.
Are you an NYU student?
I'm not, I'm a Fordham student.
Fordham, okay. And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU is doing.
Is there something that NYU is doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure they're... Do you know what NYU is doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine will be free!
I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there...
What I missed a little of the end when the girl with the mask on responded. I think I remember, but what does she say? I don't really know why we're here.
I don't know why I'm here. I wish I was more educated. So they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Well, at least she has a right. At least she has the right attitude, but maybe she should stay home because she's too stupid
Right.
until she's educated.
Yeah, what are you doing out there at a
Might
protest? You
be
don't know
better
why.
if you stayed home. I mean, are they there to pick up boys or something? I mean, what are they going to? And most of the boys you see don't even look, ladies. Most of those guys don't shower. You're probably going to get a damn disease from them.
Quite the crowd.
I used to arrest them all the time. It was better. It was. I always found it better to visit the places they brought the dogs in. They were cleaner than these animals on the street. You see them? They really are. I don't know if they're ugly or they make themselves ugly.
Well, and they all wear masks, so it's
Well, when you have an ugly, hateful ideology, it's like the face of Dorian Gray. It ruins your face. When you want to kill Jews, you want to kill Christians, right?
right,
And you follow a murderer like Muhammad.
right.
I mean, you think those girls have any idea what's in the Quran? You think they have the slightest
They couldn't
idea
spell Quran.
that in the Quran, Muhammad literally wipes out all the elders of a Jewish village, kind of like setting the tone for Hitler and everybody else, or that he's the first known person to use the common grave.
Mass grave.
Yeah. He walked into a village. The village was a very, very profitable orchard for grapes and for. He wanted it. He figured the best way to do it is I'll get the 20 eldest people. We'll line them up. We'll kill them. And he helped do it, and he helped dig the grave. Stuck them all in the grave and said, "It's my village now." It sounds like MS-13. Sounds like the mafia. It doesn't sound like MS-13. It doesn't sound like the mafia. It is, except they're not religions. Now, you follow that religion, and what do you do with that? What do you do with that in the religion? Do you not believe it and just make believe it's not there?
That's how the American.
Don't you have to make a statement of something? I mean, this is pretty serious stuff. I don't know of any established religion that has a leader who was a mass murderer. And therefore, there has to be a connection between that and the fact that the major group of mass murderers in the world are Islamic. And if we find that uncomfortable to face, we find it uncomfortable to defend ourselves. And that's why we have to be very, when President Trump in 2015 said, we're going to set down rules for immigration, and he was accused of being anti-Muslim, I volunteered to write his report. That's how I came to start working for him. I said, he's damn right. Now, just so happens I studied to be a priest. And in doing that, I studied comparative religions. And I've read 4 different versions of the Quran. I even studied it with an imam. I'm going to simply tell you why you can understand this and how they take advantage of you. The Quran is not laid out in chronological order. So in the Bible, as best they can, it's laid out in chronological order from the time of Moses' birth to the time of his death, from the time of Jesus' birth to the time of his death. So we know the things he was saying at the beginning of his life and the things he was saying at the end of his life. So now you wonder how you can get Muslims saying, Muslims are taught to love all Jews and Christians. Muslims are taught not to kill anybody. They are, in part of the Quran. They're also taught to kill everybody who's not Muslim. They're commanded to do it. They're given rewards for it. They're given rewards in heaven for it. That whole thing with the 72, 79 virgins, that's a little ambiguous. You know, it's not. They're rewarded in paradise for dying, for spreading the faith by homicide. Now, how did that happen? Well, I have both of those things in there because the Quran is laid out based on the length of the chapter, not when it happened. So it's a puzzle palace. So it could be a short chapter, longer, 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 longer. Short chapter could be the very end of his life. The next chapter could be the very beginning of his life, end of his life, middle of his life. There's a great scholar who divides it into the Medina Muhammad and the Mecca Muhammad. Medina is the city that he came from. Medina threw him out because he had his revelation. Gabriel took him up to heaven, and he met all of the prophets and Jesus, and came back, and he decided he had the completion of the two religions. He went into Medina, his town, and he started preaching. His own people threw him out. They thought he was a nut. That Gabriel took him on a ride up to heaven. And part of the reason they thought he was a nut wasn't just a strange preaching. It was the fact he was an epileptic. And he would fall down on the floor and foam would come out of his mouth. Now, these people didn't know what epilepsy was. They were convinced that he was possessed by the devil. Now he decided, well, if it doesn't work with the Arabs, let me try the Jews. They're very smart. And we would go go into the Jewish community and tell them he was the completion of their religion. And he would start attacking the Christian religion, saying they were wrong about Jesus. Jesus wasn't the Messiah. And they're not even a monotheistic religion because they have a Trinity. That's when he started his attacking. The Jews didn't really care about that. They saw this epileptic moron running around saying this crazy shit that Gabriel took him up to heaven, and they wanted him out of there as quick as possible. And since the Arabs supported them, they didn't have to worry. And then he went to the Christians, and the Christians had heard about him for a long time, and they were ready for him. So they threw him out of Medina. And he ended up in the desert. It's a gigantic desert between Medina and Mecca, right? Gigantic. And he started preaching it to the Bedouins, who were illiterate and barbaric. I want to tell you how barbaric. They bought it hook, line, and sinker. They never heard a better story. And then he added to it, we get to kill all these people, because now he was angry. So now it changed. They went into a town and they took it over. And when the town wouldn't listen, then they killed the people until they listened. And originally that was the only answer. The only answer is, you follow Muhammad or we kill you. Jew, Christian, Arab. Then some smarter guy than him came along and said, hey, Mo, we can make a few bucks on this. This is early mafia training. Why don't we shake them down? We can make them, they called them dhimmis. You know what a dhimmi is? A dhimmi is a slave. So if you're a Jew or a Christian and you're willing to pay them money, they'll keep you alive. As long as you're not doing anything to undermine them. Doing something to undermine them, they'll kill you. So he's making a fortune now on extorting the money. That's how the mass grave happened. There was this particularly desirable orchard. And they went to the orchard. And they knew they were going to have a hard time doing it because it was defended. So they took the 20 elders of the Jewish, whatever it was, group or tribe. They took them out to the town and they stabbed them one at a time, one at a time. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before that, they had him build a grave. And then Muhammad began the process of tossing him in the grave. And that's how he got control of the town. And so now if you reorganize the Quran in chronological order, that's the last 40 years of Muhammad's life. Murderer, killer. Oh, let's get worse, pedophile. He's the head of a religion. And you wonder why they have created so much violence in the world. Their highest holy day is Ramadan. Why are we all worried about how many of us are going to get killed on Ramadan? Do we walk around worried that we're all going to get killed on the Jewish high holy days? Do we worry about we're going to get killed on Christmas? Do you know how controversial what I just said is? But it doesn't matter. I got 4 fatwas against me anyway. They tried to kill me twice. Apparently, he takes care of me.
Well, Mayor, what does it tell you when in this country, the legacy media for years I'm
more confounded, Ted, by the sympathy toward Islamic terrorism than I am to communism. I understand communism because I studied it. It does come out of Western civilization, and people get brainwashed by it. And socialism has an initial sort of appeal that unless you think you got to think a teeny bit to blow it up. But if you don't, you can get. I have no idea why people follow the Muslim religion. Can't understand how they had black Muslims. There's nobody that took more black slaves than the Muslims.
Right.
The trans-African European slave trade was 1/10 of the Muslim African slave trade.
Right.
And the use of them was so different.
Right.
I'm not even going to describe to you what they used to use Africans for. We used them in agriculture and some other things. And I guess we also had some sadistic creeps.
Right.
Sadistic creeps were an institutional part of what they used to do.
Yeah.
And they were used for sex. They were used for human trafficking.
Yeah, right.
And they were considered the scum of the earth. And then all of a sudden they go to jail and they become Muslims and nobody tells them about that.
Right.
I mean, the last thing that black people should convert to is the religion that killed more of them than any religion in the history of the world, the Islamic religion. And if we don't understand what we're facing, a terrible, terrible mistake. That doesn't mean you have to be mean to Muslims. Doesn't mean you have to hate them. It means you got to question them really carefully about what they understand. Look, in a minor way, I went through this with the Italians. There used to be a whole group of Italians that hated me because I went after the mafia. How can you go after your own people? Well, they're not my people. I'm not a murderer. I'm not a thief. I don't want to be. And most Italians aren't. Vast majority of Italian people are wonderful people. And they just happen to have this problem. I could say that about all people. Unless you begin to embrace the evil as the norm, which has happened much too often in Muslim countries.
Right.
Well, we're going to take a short break, and we will be right back with America's Mayor Live. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
These deals are
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee.
This is Rudy Giuliani, and we're back with America's Mayor Live. So, what's at stake with the shutdown? So, 13 times this resolution that was presented, literally voted on by the Democrats in March, which would extend the government as is. Now, Republicans, remember, had a hard time voting for this because it wasn't cutting anything. Because extending it as it is pays for all the additions that we put in over the last, or that came into effect in the last 6 months. What has literally happened is when Congress passed the budget, they thought that they needed $6.2 trillion to pay for the United States. We spent $200 billion over that. And we're at that point now where we don't have anything left, or theoretically we don't. So we have to authorize that retro. We've already spent it. We're already $200 billion over. We have to authorize that excessive spending. So what the Republicans wanted originally is, if we're going to authorize that overspending, we want cuts that offset that. So if we're going to authorize $200 billion more in spending, before we even go ahead temporarily, let's do $200 billion in cuts. And then we can do a budget authorization. Well, Trump had to talk him out of that because we would go nowhere with that. So we agree, and that's usually what happens. 13 times it's happened since the last shutdown, which I remember vividly because I virtually was living in the White House when it happened. I was representing it. So the Democrats agreed to that in March. All of a sudden, they've come up with the idea that it's better for them to close it down and that Trump will fold. And I don't know what the political thinking is. I don't know what polls tell them that. I have a hunch, but it's only Rudy's, and it's nothing else has worked. I mean, there's a time in politics where nothing works, so you just throw. It's called like throwing darts at a dartboard. Whether you hit the dartboard or not, maybe one will hit. I don't think they necessarily have tremendous confidence that this strategy is the right strategy. But what other strategy do they have? Just to say yes to him? So it is a little strange, but they're not embarrassed about this. They've all been against this for 13 times. You got all kinds of quotes from Schumer and Pelosi and saying you should never close the government down. Even if you have to do a neutral, you should keep the government open. You should be negotiating with the government open. The government should never be closed down. The government should never be closed down. You should never close down the government. Now, we must close down the government because Trump won't agree to provide health care. Now, they don't tell you who he doesn't want to provide health care to. He doesn't want to provide health care to the untold millions that they brought into this country in the last 4 years, none of whom are entitled to it, all of whom they say are not getting health care, despite the fact that 12 different cities advertise health care if you come to them and you're illegal. The records of the United States government contain about 3 million people who aren't legal that we know about that are getting health care. Just a complete. These are the same people who a year ago, the ones saying that the illegals don't get health care, that were inviting people to come into the United States because illegally, because you can get health care. So here are the groups that they want us to fund. And by the way, permanently, for good. They want us to fund the illegals that want health care. They want us to fund the people who are working. And there are a lot of them who are eligible for health care, who don't take it because the inflated third version of Biden health care, the so-called Anti-Inflation Act, goes to people who are 800% over the poverty line. There are people earning $500,000 who are eligible for Medicaid. And if their employer has some kind of a deductible that they don't like, or some kind of they turn it down. They're working, maybe 3-4 million working, getting Medicaid, legally not entitled to it. If you're working, you got to take what your employer's got. You're not poverty stricken. And by the way, 500% over the poverty line is not poverty. That would be just ordinarily about 150, 160, 170,000. So you've got that group that are working and can get medical care. You've got the illegals. Final group. You got the people that are not working or officially not working because they get medical care. People work sometimes to get medical care. But if the government's going to give you great medical care for nothing, and you can go around making money in cash, why the hell don't you do that? Or at least 2-3 million of you. That's where you come up with your 400 to 500 million more right now that they want in the budget with an authorization that'll take it to $1 trillion over 10 years. So they want this all over with for the next 10 years. We're going to fund every damn illegal that comes into this country. Now, we're going through a terrible time. The president doesn't want this. Our army isn't being paid. Our airlines are in total confusion. Our transportation is in confusion. But would you agree to it? And I would think, when I go back to the air traffic controllers. I was Ronald Reagan's lawyer with Ted Olson during that. And that was a tough decision he had to make. But his fear, the president's fear was if he didn't stand up to them, the military go on strike. You shouldn't be able to go on strike if you work for the government. When I see Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, say, well, let's do a 1-year extension. And then I see the guy who had that stupid fight with Jeffries, the rhino from Westchester, say, well, I might agree to a year. And it sounds like the side that's folding is ours. I mean, if I have to look at you look at the two walls, right? And I thought they would, because they're just dead wrong. But somehow, when these shutdowns take place, we just don't know how to message. Unfair. We're not. It's unfair what I just said. We don't have a level playing field. Yeah. We are messaging into a group of people that would like to bankrupt the shit out of us, because that would take us closer to their one world government and Gates and Soros and
all you need to do
make Trump a failure.
Right. And all you have to do to see how the media in this country treat Republicans and Democrats differently is that interview with Katie Porter out in California. She seemed incredulous at.
Come on, we're going to get off around 9:10. So we cannot let them go this weekend without seeing Fat Mouth. Okay,
right.
Let's watch Fat Mouth, who's the leading Democratic candidate for governor of California. And let me tell you, if you watch her and you say this is typical of the entire Democrat Party, you are 100% correct. I mean, I could show you Schumer. He'd be even more disgusting.
Right. So this is Katie Porter talking to a California-based journalist.
Who's probably on her side, by the way.
Right. And she is currently, maybe not after this, but she is currently listed as the front runner for governor.
If it is me versus a Republican, I think that I will win the people who did not vote for Trump.
What if it's you versus another Democrat?
I don't intend that to be the case.
So how do you not intend that to be the case? Are you going to ask them not to run?
No, I'm saying I'm going to build the support. I have the support already in terms of name recognition. And so I'm going to do the very best I can to make sure that we get through this primary in a really strong position. But let me be clear with you. I represented Orange County. I represented a purple area. I have stood on my own 2 feet and won Republican votes before. That's not something every candidate in this race can say. If you're from a deep blue area, if you're from LA or you're from Oakland, you don't have an experience.
But you just said you don't need those Trump voters.
Well, you asked me if I needed them to win.
So you don't
I
think
feel
you
like
need
this
them
is
to win?
unnecessarily argumentative. What is your question?
The question is the same thing I asked everybody, that this is being called the empowering voters to stop Trump's power grab. Every other candidate has answered this question. This is not
Correct. And I said I support it.
So, and the question is, what do you say to the 40% of voters who voted for Trump?
Oh, I'm happy to say that. It's the do you need them to win part that I don't understand. I'm happy to answer the question as you have it written, and I'll answer it.
And we've also asked the other candidates, do you think you need any of those 40% of California voters to win? And you're saying, no, you don't.
No, I'm saying I'm going to try to win every vote I can. And what I'm saying to you is that...
Well, to those voters, okay, so you...
I don't want to keep doing this. I'm going to call it. Thank you.
You're not going to do the interview with us?
Nope, not like this. I'm not. Not with 7 follow-ups to every single question you ask.
Every other candidate has answered
I don't
our
care.
follow-ups.
I don't care. I want to have a pleasant, positive conversation where she asks me about every issue on this list.
That's my favorite part.
You
I want to
have a
pleasant...
miserable weekend, men? Imagine if you were married to her. Imagine getting up and what's her name, Katie?
Katie Porter.
Waking up and saying, "Good morning, Katie." Can you imagine being married to her? Wow.
Absolutely not. She is her staff tone.
I don't have to use the bad word. I can just say witch.
But isn't a big part of this, Mayor, right?
And she's like this all the time. I mean, that if you think this is because she was on some kind of drug or somebody frightened her on the, I don't think anybody could frighten her. She frightens people.
Right. And
she wants to be governor of California. I don't know. Can it get worse than Newsom? Yeah.
I was going to say, it looks like it.
But you know, that is, one has to say that is typical of the entitled Democratic Party.
Right.
I mean, they're used to having the questions in advance, right?
Right.
Having the things when they stumble, bumble, and sound like ultra morons, having it taken out like Kamala did by the networks, right? Where she gave an answer that one would have to figure that she needs a mental exam.
Right.
Well, Russia is a big country and Ukraine is a small country, and big countries don't like small countries don't like big countries when they're big countries, because big countries are big.
Right.
Oh, and that's what you're going to do about our relations with Russia? Of course.
Right. Well, just to show we're not just using one clip. Let's
You
play
mean
it.
this is typical of? Of course it is.
Yeah,
Everybody knows she's a witch.
Let's play one more.
All in September, and what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my fucking shop.
That's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't make the commitments under the
Told you.
Okay. It does.
You want to be married there?
You also were in my
Imagine,
shop.
wake up in the morning. Get out of
Stay
my
out
effing shot.
of my shot. Okay. I'm going to start.
You know what I would do if I run against her? Ted, I have an interesting strategy. I pay for her commercials. There are candidates, the more you see them, the less votes they get. I had one once.
Yeah, explain the.
I had one once. I knew. Put her on the air. Boop. Don't even say anything. Just put her on the air. Boop. I also knew that because I had a great.
Yeah, tell us.
And I'm not talking about Roger. I'm talking about Ailes.
Roger Ailes.
Not Ailes. No. I'm talking about Koch's guy.
Oh, Ed
David
Koch.
Garth.
David Garth.
David Garth is he's really the main figure for the movie consultant. That goes back to about the 1980s, mid 80s. And he really invented a lot of the modern political consulting where they take over everything, the television, the advice, the whatever. He had prided himself on electing stupid people.
Right.
You know what he would do with stupid people? He'd tell them, shut up, don't be interviewed. And he invented the a person in the street interview. So I'm not going to mention any of these because some of these stupid people endorse me. So he would go and he would, let's say Ted is running for office, right? They don't want to put Ted on. He'd say, do you know Ted Goodman? Of course I know Ted Goodman. Ted Goodman was the best assemblyman we ever had in our district. He literally put food on my table. Then they put on a woman, and the woman would say, "Oh, Ted, it was unbelievable. We were running with problems in school with my kid, and Ted came right in, helped out. Ted is
he's handsome, he's charming, he's good looking.
I go to church with Ted, and Ted is the only one who goes to church every Sunday.
Yeah,
and then you see this is Ted Goodman, and I accept. That's all Ted has to say. Now, sometimes Ted is so stupid. When you see him, you don't vote for him.
Well, Mayor, I think that
but usually they can pull that off.
Yeah.
He elected several people to major office that way. And then he got fired by one of my best friends when he was doing Dick Thornburg's campaign. And Dick Thornburg won the Republican primary by 1%. Should have won it by 10. My friend Jay Wallman fired him because he said, my guy is not a sub-moron like most of the people and you didn't put him on the air. You put him on the air, we'd have won by 10. Yeah. So he fires David. The Republican Party wants him fired. Thornburg stays with him, and Thornburg wins by 14 because Thornburg was intelligent enough to talk for himself. But this, I mean, you get a lot of people who are sub-morons who are running for office, particularly rich people. A guy like Pritzker, you think Pritzker's got a brain? He'd be running the family business if he had a brain. Obviously, he has a big appetite, but he doesn't have a brain.
Right.
I mean, you listen to him; it doesn't make any sense. Or the other guy,
you got to find
Brandon Dopey,
Brandon Johnson, Mayor Johnson.
That's how you get these dopey people. The man in the street advertising has been enormously destructive. Oh, no one better than Governor Pritzker. What did he do? Well, I don't really know what he did, but he's wonderful. So that's how you get around this. And you get these. I swear to God, the more commercials she did for herself, just looking at it, you'd vote against her. You'd say, "Oh my God, I got to look at this for the." You know what I did in 2010, and I did 50 at least congressional campaigns, and we knocked Pelosi out of office. First time we knocked her out.
Oh.
Took over the House for the first time since Newt.
2010.
Yeah. I'd finish all my speeches this way. I'd say, please. I like to tell jokes when I do speeches. I just say, you got to do me one favor, please. Did you enjoy the speech? Did you like that I came here? Would you do me one favor, please? This is really important. I love Sunday morning television because I'm a political junkie.
You've done the full Ginsburg?
And I have. And I've been on all the shows, and even the bad ones I like to. But, when Pelosi comes on, my two little kids start crying looking at her. They look at her face. No natural body parts. And they start crying. You got to get her the hell off television. The only way you get her off television is by voting Republican. Now, that wasn't the only thing, but we focused that whole campaign on her.
Pelosi, 2010.
Yeah, I mean,
Obama and Pelosi.
Sean Duffy will tell you that. That's how Sean Duffy won.
Northern Wisconsin.
Yeah, I went there. Remember, we talked to him the other day. I went there for him and his 35 kids and his wife.
Big Catholic family.
And I said, Sean is great. Sean's a great prosecutor. He'd be terrific. But you really like watching Pelosi on television? Oh, no. If you vote for his opponent, no matter what they're saying about how you're going to have that ugly witch on constantly.
Right.
Without a single body part. It's her own. And we got her out. Now, to her credit, she came back.
She came back in
I think she helped us a lot.
2018, right?
I think she helped Trump a lot, though.
And she's still there, right? She's no longer speaker, and usually these people, they leave office when they're no longer speaker. She's still there.
There are very, very knowledgeable people who I respect very much who think she's a drunk. I don't think so. I think she's another. Like when her husband got beaten up.
Yeah.
My first suspect was her. Now, it turned out not to be her, but I thought she just beat the shit out of him.
Right.
This is Nancy D'Alessandro.
That's her maiden last name.
From Baltimore. Father the mayor. Uncle.
Is that the sign?
I cannot defame. Hey, you're going to vote for my brother. Got it? Nancy D'Alessandro. Go read about the D'Alessandro family in Baltimore. You think Spiro Agnew was the only crooked guy in? Spiro Agnew took $5,000. My God.
He had to leave the vice presidency over a few $1,000.
Yeah, but I mean the whole city. I mean she grew up in one of the most corrupt Democrat cities in the country, except for New York. And then she's out there in California.
San Francisco.
There's no way she'd be a left winger or right winger, whatever it is. How much money did she make last year? Like about 40 million?
Yeah.
Last year, $40 million.
Let me find out.
They're raking it in, and she will not pass any laws that restrict Congress on trading, which means that at heart, she's a dishonest person because she has no value for the sacred nature of public service. Saying that, and then this pretense of being a Catholic, murdering babies, a murdering baby Catholic who does hundreds of millions in insider trading.
Well,
and the Pope, the Pope loves these guys like Obama and not so much Biden.
Right. Pelosi made between $7.8 and $42.5 million in 2024.
Yeah. And Biden took $31 million from China, who doesn't allow the Catholic Church to appoint their own bishops. And the Pope gave him a special greeting because he's a Catholic who wants to take care of poor people. Actually, Biden never took care of a poor person in his life. If he saw a poor person with $1, he would have stolen it. Biden stole everything he could find.
Pelosi's
walked out of the White House like this.
Pelosi's investment portfolio pulled in an estimated 54% return in 2024. That's more than double the S&P.
Well,
S&P's gain.
Why don't people invest with her?
Right, she
maybe
obviously knows something.
Maybe some of those Democrats.
Yes, some of them they do.
Her husband must be like just a financial genius. It was a shame what happened to him. Nobody wanted to see him get beaten up. I mean that. Why the heck I don't think people should get beaten up for financial crimes or any kind of crimes. They should maybe be executed if it's murder, but you don't have to beat them up. But
right.
But the fact is, the two of them are like the two thieves,
right,
in Congress.
Well, Mayor,
she comes from a family. Read about it.
Right.
You'll see that this is not like an act. Like she went out west, and she became like that.
Right.
She may have made the West like that.
Well, Mayor, I know we want to send everyone over to Lindell TV and Dr.
We do.
Maria, but
we do.
before
Anything
we do,
else you would like to mention? We will say a prayer. This time, I will say a prayer. I'm not going to ask you to do it for the Yankees because I am extraordinarily disappointed. And I am very proud of myself that I've grown up. I've done no harm to myself. You know, these people who have things like eating disorders and they chew themselves and they stab themselves. I used to be in danger of doing that when the Yankees lost, but I didn't do anything to myself this time. I was really good, right, Ted? You were with me.
Yeah,
you saw.
you were
No
good.
attempt to kill myself. No attempt. No crying.
It was sad. It was a sad way to go out.
I just took it that we lost
Imagine if you had Soto right now.
to a Canadian team.
And that's the other thing. Right after Mark Carney visits the White House.
Why does the president want them as a state? They're a bunch of losers.
Well, they're winners right now.
Oh, and baseball,
I hate to say it.
I mean, their budget is like considerably more ridiculous than ours.
Right.
Nobody works. The healthcare system was described by the Supreme Court as, well, you don't really get healthcare. You get on a waiting list.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, I will divide that in half. You take me to Western Canada, I love them. Western Canadians are like Texans or like the people in Central California. I mean, they're like real people, like John Wayne.
John Wayne, we got to get.
So you can't speak generally about anybody.
We got to get his granddaughter over here again.
They didn't used to be that bad before they got Castro's son as their prime minister.
We got to get.
I used to like them during 9/11. They sent 20,000 people to New York one weekend to help us.
Who?
The Canadians.
Oh, after 9/11?
Yeah, that's before they had Castro's son.
And there was that. Yeah, of course, Canada took in a lot of
if
flights.
it was after that, I wouldn't let them in because they had Castro's son as their prime minister.
They took in a lot of flights too.
That joke is
that's a good one. I mean, that's classic Trump.
We don't really.
We're not reviving that.
We
joke.
don't
We're
really
back on
know
board with
if he's
Ted Cruz now,
Castro.
or Cruz
We don't really know if he's Castro's son, but they've done all of these things, comparing his face and Castro's face, and his mother apparently, let's say politically,
let me find out. Yeah.
Was in love with Castro and spent time with him. So they go ahead and they compare his facial features to Castro's facial features and the fact that he's a left-wing goon. And they say he's Castro's son.
Right. So
he was a terror. I mean, they threw him out as a prime minister. I mean, this guy, although he's a left-wing lunatic too, Carney, at least is a sensible man. I mean, Trump can do some business with him. I mean, things aren't as bad with Canada,
right, as
they used to be.
Yeah. But and
their right wing is like a little bit like our rhinos. They're like frightened.
Yeah. Well, Canada right now, can you imagine how excited they'll be if their baseball team is able to win the championship of America's pastime? They'd really stick it to us, wouldn't they? If they pull this one off.
Don't even say that.
I know. Well, I mean, they've already gotten past the Yankees. I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. Winning the house that Ruth built. Do you still call it that, even though it's another stadium?
I do at times, but I usually call it the Cathedral of Baseball.
Okay,
the sacred Cathedral of Baseball.
Because the house that Ruth built, technically, it's no longer.
It is not the house that Ruth built. I don't think you can call it the house that Ruth built anymore. The one that was there was the house that Ruth built, because even when they remodeled it,
they kept it.
They kept the central part.
We're talking Yankee Stadium.
The way they did with Baker Field in Chicago.
Okay.
You know, they did a beautiful
Wrigley Field.
No.
Soldier Field.
Soldier Field. Yeah, Baker Field is Columbia.
Columbia.
Baker Field.
Okay. The University of Columbia.
Wrigley Field is the Cubs.
Yes.
But the one I'm talking about is one in the middle of the city.
Soldier Field, the football stadium.
And they put like a bowl in it.
They say
you know how dangerous that is? Oh, never mind. You don't want to know. That's extraordinarily dangerous to the retaining walls. That's why Yankee Stadium eventually had to be taken down, because they did the same thing in Yankee Stadium, and the old walls were not built to contain that kind of steel pressure.
Yeah.
And the reason we had to hurry changing Yankee Stadium is the day after opening day in left field, a tremendous boulder came down and destroyed 4 chairs. Had it happened 24 hours earlier, it would kill 4 people.
Yeah, that would be a time to upgrade.
The mayor said, "We're not messing around no more. We're moving this damn thing."
But before we go, Mayor, on a serious note, Israel and Hamas, the ceasefire has officially taken effect. IDF has begun pulling forces back out of Gaza. What should people be looking for this weekend? Hamas is on the clock. The 72-hour window
well, first
has
of all,
begun.
Any violence. I mean, when they've had ceasefires before, they go ahead and shoot each other anyway. So let's make sure it's a real ceasefire. I think it will be. This one is a little bit too surrounded by all of the Arab countries invested in it. I think stage one is going to take place. Now, stage one is only 2 or 3 of the 20 points. I think so what's stage one? Stage one is they're going to return the 20 live, if they are alive. They're going to return the 28 bodies, if they really have them. Let's hope they do, because that's going to create an issue. Israel has already complied with what they have to do, as far as I know. Israel's condition in stage one is to take its military and bring it behind that line we showed you.
Yep.
Apparently, earlier today, they were sort of in front of that line. Now they're behind that line.
Right.
The minute Israel signed, the 72 hours began to run for turning over the hostages.
Yes.
So when we say they're going to be returned on Monday and Tuesday, they have to be returned on Monday and Tuesday, or the agreement has been breached. So by Tuesday morning, Israel should have 48, 20 alive and 28 dead bodies.
Wow.
And they're going to give back, 250, correct?
Yep.
And they have refused to give back Mawa Baghdadi,
Okay.
who has been an Israeli prisoner since 2003, who massacred a group of Jewish people and some Americans. So please don't give him back. And Hamas has said they wouldn't make peace without him. So they did.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So,
and I think this is really the first time in a long time that Israel has really stood up to them in terms of these prisoner exchanges. Remember when they did the 2,000 for one or 1,000 for one?
Right.
Among that 1,000 was Sinwar and the people who carried out the attack on the 11th. That I have to, you know how much I love Israel. You know how much I love Bibi. And I think they're brilliant. And in many ways,
that's very,
we can learn a lot from them militarily. But the one thing they are dead wrong about is the exchange of hostages. I am a major believer in you do not negotiate with kidnappers or with terrorists, because then you just get more of them.
Right. That's the only
For
when
the
you're
3 people you're going to save, you're going to lose 1,000.
in 2011.
And it is horrible to say that. I sure as hell wouldn't want to say it to a family. And if it was my kid, I'd probably feel completely different. But now I'm talking about the general good of the whole population. The minute you start doing that trading, they live on that. Why do you think they held the hostages as long as they did? Now they feel that somehow they have the backing of the other Arab countries. So maybe they're going to give them up.
Yeah, we'll have to see about the remains of the.
But they better not be unrealistic about what they're going to get, because they're not going to get in government. And I don't know that Bibi's going to agree not to kill them, but we'll see. I mean, the Israeli rule has always been, we'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
If it takes 20 years, we will get you. Israel, somewhere, somehow, no matter what they agree to, there's a group in Israel that will make sure that every person who participated in the October 7 massacre is eliminated, just like the people who participated in the Olympic strike.
Right.
And I don't care what Bibi signs. Mossad won't abide by it. They got people on them right now.
Right, and that's the big question. They want, Israel's demanding that
you can write whatever you want. Mossad will eliminate every person they know of who participated in the raping, the slaughtering of the Israeli people.
As they should.
As they should.
As
Absolutely.
they should. I mean, there has to
and
be.
I wouldn't agree to it. I would just say, go to hell. Let's just keep wiping you out.
Right. I mean, as we've seen,
the safest thing for us
be allowed to.
Safest thing for us is not an agreement with Hamas. It's no Hamas.
Right, and that's what the prime minister, I believe, right after October 7th, that was one of his sticking points. Hamas. I'd have to go back to see his exact language. So there's a lot. I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions here, Mayor. How can you enforce?
The only leverage they have are the other Arab countries that the president wants to bring into a peace agreement with Israel. And Palestine has always been the stumbling block.
The
So
same
at
Arab,
the very end, will they continue to be the stumbling block?
well, the same Arab countries that have refused to take even one single Palestinian
Yeah,
refugee.
well, they won't take anything because they're all
Egypt's got a wall twice this.
the Arab countries will not. The Arab countries forget Hamas. They're not going to take them. They won't take Palestinians.
Right. And so it's
The king of Jordan,
And they
remember, is married to a Palestinian. He will not take a Palestinian. You tell me how he explains that to his wife. Honey, I'd like to take a couple of our relatives. Sorry, they can't come into Jordan because they tried to kill my grandpa.
right.
Well, I'm sorry to be so realistic, but that's how we keep alive in a very, very cruel world. And that's what our president has to do for us. And no president has done it much better than this one. So our money is on him. So let's pray for Israel, for sure. Let's pray for the Ukrainians because we're forgetting about them. I wanted to talk a little about them tonight, but we didn't have a chance, but we will. We will on Monday, and maybe there'll be some progress because I think slowly but surely they're spanning out into Russia and hitting targets in Russia. There's going to come a point in which Putin finds that very uncomfortable. Let's pray for the people of Iran. We haven't heard much yet about their overthrowing that government, but I believe before enormous amounts of time go by, that will happen. And let's pray for us and for our president. This is the weekend. Maybe we should devote a little time on Saturday or Sunday, huh? Depending on who you are and what you believe in, to thanking the Almighty God for what he's given us and ask for his help. Who are we? Just creatures. So let's all say it together. God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to